And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of New Earth TV. I should say New Earth Practices. I got so many different New Earth streams. I'm trying to keep up with them all. New Earth Practices for today. Okay. So tomorrow, of course, I'll be having New Earth TV live. That'll be happening tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And next Tuesday, I'll be coming back with New Earth Insights, right, with some new information to come together. And then, of course, next Thursday again with New Earth Practices. So next week, for next Friday, there will not be a New Earth TV live because I'll be traveling. Okay, so I'll be gone for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday next week. So just letting you guys know, I'll just be doing 2 live streams next week. So again, the week after that, yes, New Earth TV live will be coming back. So again, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for being here today for New Earth Practices. So what we're going to talk about today, which we're going to get into here in just a few moments, is we're going to be looking into leaving the mind and entering intelligence. So we're going to be looking into that, basically looking into the idea about how to transcend the mind. Again, a lot of the practices that I've been teaching you guys as well too, about how you're getting out of the mind altogether, what the mind really is, right? What is the power? What is the strength of the mind? And when we're looking into the nature of intelligence, sorry, printer's going off here. When we're going into the nature of intelligence, what that truly represents as well too. Okay, so we'll be getting into that in just a few moments. Welcome everybody again to the top chat. So why don't we all just take a moment now. And now we're going to do some deep cleansing breath, all right? So if you're just starting to wake up and you're just tuning into this broadcast right now, now is a good idea just to get yourself awake and aware, all right? So we're just going to take some deep cleansing breaths. So deep breath in, exhale, deep breath in, exhale. One more time, deep breath in. And just let yourself go into that kind of active calm, right? It's like I said, you're kind of sitting on a plank in the middle of the ocean, and you're just kind of gently feeling those bobbing waves, right? That just means you're active, you're aware, you're awake, okay? Now we're going to take those waves and we're going to bring them into calmness. We're going to bring them into subtlety. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 minutes of heart rate variability, okay? So again, as I've talked about, heart rate variability is one of the best forms of breath practices that you can do because it's bringing you deeply into the parasympathetic. It's bringing you deeply into calmness and receptiveness. This is what's helping you to go inside a lot more, right? And I especially recommend these practices for people who are very much living in a very practical world, right? Constantly looking outside of them. It's about coming back to your breath. It's about going within. It's about moving into that parasympathetic. It's about lowering your heart rate somewhat, right? And just bringing equilibrium to your body, okay? So nasal breathing, right? Breathing in and out the nose, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, okay? And we're going to do that for 2 minutes, starting now. Okay? And relax yourself. All right. So again, this is why I suggest doing heart rate variability. Again, if you guys have already done the 30-day BCR technique challenge, okay, that 30-day challenge there, you're already aware of how much I praise the nature of heart rate variability, right? It's very, very important, right? I cannot emphasize this enough. Even when I'm doing my other live streams, when I'm talking about current events, when I'm talking about helping with healing, when I'm talking about taking questions for Q&A, all of that's fine and good. But really what I'm attempting to teach you guys is that once you learn to let go of the worries and concerns of the world, you're going to set yourself free. And heart rate variability is helping you to go into that freeness. It's helping you to go into that freedom. It's bringing your heart rate into a steady rate. It's working with your parasympathetic nervous system. It's working together with the vagus nerve. It's helping with, again, integrating and harmonizing your organs. There are so many benefits just doing heart rate variability on its own. So this is why I really want to continue to share this with you, so you guys are continuing to work with this daily. It's so very important. The same thing with BCR technique. You guys are working with this daily. It's not just enough to do the 30 days. Right? When we're doing the 30-day challenge, all you're doing is you're building the foundation. Okay? So if we're building a pyramid, we're just getting the foundation of it created first. We're digging the hole, we're getting everything appropriated, we're putting the concrete in, and we have a level foundation there. That's all you're doing with those 30 days. Now after those 30 days, we're creating the infrastructure. We're building the pyramid right to its capstone. Okay? You know you're at the capstone when you're going into silence. You're going into stillness. You're going into the summit. You are the I am. That's when you know you got the capstone on your pyramid, right? So again, with the New Earth practices today, with the heart rate variability, we're going to go into, again, the right brain practice right now. Okay, then we'll be going into my discussion today. So next, after the heart rate variability, we bring out the peripheral pillars. Okay? So again, all you're doing is you're just taking your index fingers just like this, and you're just bringing them so that they are within your peripheral range of vision. Okay? And you're just holding them out there, so you're basically just finding a central point. You're just looking directly ahead of yourself, and you just fix your gaze there. You just take your 2 index fingers, put them in your peripheral range. Okay, and just hold this for a moment. Okay, and now I want you to take in everything that you see now. Okay, going to your ears, I want you to take in everything that you hear now. Going to your nose, I want you to take in everything that you smell now. Going to your hands, your feet, your skin, I want you to take in everything that you touch now. Finally, going to your mouth, I want you to take in everything that you taste now. And now I want you to take in all 5 senses at the same time, now. Okay, deep breath in, deep breath out. How are your thoughts? Are your thoughts starting to level out because you're bringing your focus and awareness to all 5 of your senses? You're not thinking about anything else. You're not thinking, do I have to do the laundry today? You're not thinking, what should I have for dinner? You're not thinking, do I need to put fuel in the car? Right? Am I going to be late for work, etc.? Those thoughts are not there. All you're doing is you're bringing your focus and your awareness and your attention to the stimulation of the five senses. You're taking in all of that sensory data. And that's going to thin out the mind. That's going to reduce the thoughts significantly. As we do this more frequently, you're going to notice that you're moving into a point of no thought state. That's great. Now that we go into a no thought state, we're able to now maintain that feeling. So you just stay there with observing the five senses, because that's taking you from the left brain over to the right brain. And the more that we can stay there, the more that we're training ourselves to completely reduce the thoughts, right? This is kind of like the second phase after the BCR technique, right? So as you're starting to do the BCR technique in the morning, for example, and you're starting to work with that love energy, you're clearing away all that debris, well then after you've done that, the exercise that I just showed you is going to be very, very simple, right? Because you're already feeling good. You already have that 10 out of 10 of love energy in your reserve banks, right? So now you can go into cleansing breath. Now you can go into heart rate variability. Now you can go into the peripheral pillars. Now you can go into observing the five senses and just staying there. That's it, guys. That's the entire practice, right? And the more that we just stay there and we're just reducing our thoughts, right? More and more every day, because we have something to focus on. We're focusing on our five senses. And that's all we're doing. It's very, very simple. And the more that you do it, the greater the impact it is going to bring to you, right? So, like I said, this is the New Earth practices that we're doing, just helping you to go from the left brain to the right brain. So, let's move on now to my discussion, where we're going to be looking into, again, leaving the mind and entering intelligence. Okay. I got too many L's there. One L. Intelligence. Okay. So as we look into the mind, well, what is the mind altogether? Okay, well, it is thought. Okay, it is feeling. It is emotion. Okay, it is experience. So we're looking at everything regarding the mind. And I've talked about this in the past as well too, that the mind itself is a matrix. That's really what it represents. As a matrix, the mind is just helping you to go through these states of impermanences, right? It is all about an impermanent construct. What does that mean? When we're looking into an impermanent structure, an impermanent construct, it's something that is always under the cycle of change. Everything changes. Nothing ever stays the same. And when we look at the idea of impermanence, impermanence is never capable, can never tell you the truth. Okay? It's incapable of that. And this is why we get caught up in such a ruckus with ourselves. This is why we're going through this three-ring circus of life. Because so much of our attention, okay, here's our eye, is brought upon the mind. We focus on the mind because it's an object, because there's images, because there's sensory data, because there's all of this structure here. There's the outside world. I got to pay attention to it. All of this is happening. I got to focus on what's around me, right? How can I not focus on the mind? Because you are not the mind. The mind exists out here, right? Everything that represents the projection of the mind exists outwards. But you're ignoring your own thoughts. You're ignoring your own feelings. You're ignoring your own experiences. You're ignoring your own mentalities. You're ignoring all of the innerness that represents yourself, that is tied in with the mind. So that's one of the first steps, is we learn to let go of the outside. Okay, when we're out, we're looking to clear that away. This is what I'm teaching you guys in the BCR Technique 30-Day Challenge. We're learning to live more inside the heart. Okay? And by living inside the heart, you realize who you truly are. You realize that living inside the heart, living inside me, is where perfection is. Because when I'm living inside here, I'm living here. This is where we want to go. This is where the great masters have been teaching us to abide within throughout life, because intelligence represents the right brain. Okay, this is the right brain. This is the non-linear. When we're looking at the mind, when we're looking at all these thoughts, feelings, expressions, analysis, examination, etc., we're looking at the left brain. Okay? So again, this becomes our addiction. We constantly look outside. Oh my God, all this stuff is happening out there. Everything is happening out there. Everything is happening out there. You are attracting all those things that you see out there. There is no collective world. That's what you have to understand. There is no such thing as a collective world. The collective itself is here because of you, which means you form your own collective. There is only ever your world. You've never experienced a generic collective world. Never. Not once. Not ever will you. It is always seen through your eyes. It is always experienced through your perceptions. You've never experienced another person's world. You've never experienced a generic collective, the world. Adronis talked about this a lot when I was channeling him. He said, there is no the world. There is only your world. There is only your perceptions. Right? So this, again, is what we still buy into. Oh my God, the world is in such chaos. No, it's not. Your world is in chaos. Because you are attracting chaos. You are bringing chaos into yourself. You are seeing chaos in every single corner. Every time you turn a corner, you see chaos. It's you. It's not the world. So, the world is made up of our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our experiences, our expressions. That is how you will always see your world. That's what brings it in through the mind. Okay? And as we start to live inside the heart, we realize that I just need to go in and I need to do a lot of inner house cleaning. I need to clean up my world. I need to clean up the emotions that are stinky, right? We have stinky emotions. We do. Okay? They reek. They're stinky emotions and they attract stinky situations. Okay? As long as your emotions stink, as long as your thoughts stink, then you're going to have some pretty foul situations happen to you. Because you're not allowing yourself to govern the inner world that resides within you. Okay? This is where the problem lies. So the first step we have to do is we have to be aware of the thoughts that we are thinking, right? Not every single one, but something that really impacts us, right? If I'm thinking of something horrific, I have to ask where does that thought arise? Well, guess where all these thoughts arise when I'm thinking of something horrific, guys? It comes through the experiences of our memories. Okay? Memories is what causes these thought-based experiences to arise within ourselves, and we're constantly giving power to our memories, right? Because I remember that this horrible thing happened, and oh my God, I'm thinking about that now. Oh my God, how horrible. And all I'm doing with these stinky memories is I'm reacting, right? So I go through reaction. I react to all these things. And as soon as you react, you're going into your carnal state. Okay? Reaction is a carnal state of being. Right? So if we're looking into the human being here, we're looking, for example, the lower three chakras here. Okay? Those are your carnal centers. The moment that you react to something, you're staying there. You're staying in the base. You're staying in the lusts. You're staying in the survival. You're staying in everything that represents the carnal nature of yourself by reacting to everything. Well, what is the big idea with the idea of reacting things? Can't I react to things? Of course you can react to things. But you're only staying at looking at things in a much more animalistic point of view. When you remain within the reaction state of your being, you're no more different than a gazelle in the wild. You're no more different than a bird. You're no more different than any type of animal that has to react. Right? Is it being hunted? Is it being stalked? What's going on here? Oh, this scares me. Oh, I gotta run this way. Okay? You're basically animal consciousness when you're going into reaction all the time. This happens. Right? That happens. Okay? That's you being an animal. You're not even really a human being at that point. Okay? You are doing carnal reactions to everything that comes through your world, because there is no without world. Right? So this is where we're learning to get out of reaction and we're coming into listening. Okay? When you listen, you're not really reacting. You're just taking in what a person is saying. You're just, okay. Yes, I get what you're saying. I understand. Right? There's no reaction. Okay? The only reason why we're reacting is because of this. We're reacting because of the mind. We're reacting through our thoughts. We're reacting through our feelings and emotions. We're reacting through our experiences. We're reacting all through the nature of memory. It's a memory porn. That's what's going on, guys. With our memories, it becomes pornography. Because all we're doing is we're just thinking and making up situations based upon the experiences through our memories that dictate our ability to work with reactions. And that makes you animalistic. No more better than the animals. Because that's how they do. That's how they survive. Right? They react. They look at all these things. They react. Oh, okay, good. Right? It's just like if you see a squirrel, you're walking down a nature path. You see a squirrel. Squirrel comes out, reacts to you, runs the other way. Okay? Same thing with a deer. Deer just sees you coming, runs away. Doesn't bother to listen. Right? It's listening that it's aware of you, but then it reacts thinking it's in danger and then it runs away. And you're not really even doing anything. Okay? That's the idea, is you're moving into that state of reaction. Okay? And that is the lowest carnal aspect of ourselves. Okay? Person like that who just reacts is going to be going through lifetime after lifetime until they get out of that phase. That's just a guarantee here, guys. If you are living a world of reaction, you are carrying on from death to death. Right? You die a reacting person, you become reborn again as a reacting person until you break that cycle. You have to be that hamster getting off the hamster wheel. Right? So let me clear the board here. That's so very important. Okay, if we do not realize this, then this again is what's causing us to come back again and again through incarnation. We may not come back to Earth. We may go back to another type of Earth, and we may again have to learn all these things all over again, because we're going back to square one, because all we're doing right now is just reacting to everything. We react, we react, we react. You're no more different than an animal. Right? So we have to work on clearing out reaction. And we have to replace it with listening. The ability to listen comes from a stable awareness. Not a stable mind, but a stable form of awareness, a subtle awareness. How do you know you have a good listener with you? Because they are aware of their inner self. Okay, a good listener has a great stability with their inner self. They've done a lot of work upon themselves, right? And you can just tell. You can be, again, in front of a guru. You can be in front of a monk. You can be in front of a sage, right? And all they're doing is they're just very, very quiet. They're not even really talking, but they take in every single word that you say. They don't react and say, oh yeah, I beat up my best friend last week. Okay? They're still listening to you. They're not going, oh my God, you're the devil. Get away from me. Okay? They're listening to you. And that's all they're doing. They hardly say a word. They're just here to listen to you. They're taking everything in. I've met people like that. They're wonderfully brilliant people. Okay? This is the key. So we are polishing the inner self. We're going inside. We're realizing that we're living inside the heart. We're doing the house cleaning, right? We're cleaning up all of that debris that represents the ability to react. Okay, our reaction debris is being cleared out, and that's a mixture of thoughts, feelings, emotions, experiences, illusions, all created through memory. Because memory and time are one in the same. Okay? There is no difference between memory and time. The only reason time exists is because of memory, because of our recollection of an event. And how do we get that recollection of event? We pull up a memory. Oh, so yeah, this happened last week. This happened last month. This happened last year. So I'm using memory to create the reality of time. Okay? That's the only reason time exists. You don't have this, you don't have time. Simple as that. Time cannot exist without memory, because that's where you're putting dates on everything. That's where you're putting the markers on your timeline. And that's fine. That's just what we naturally do. Okay? Not saying that memory is a bad thing, but it's something that we're looking to evolve past. We're not concerned about memory so much, because what we're doing is we're looking to get out of the mind and come into intelligence. Now, what about intelligence? Why is intelligence so great? Why do we have to look into intelligence? Because this is where God is. Right? This is where perfection is. Okay? This is where stillness is. This is where oneness is. Okay? All of that exists within intelligence. Intelligence is permanence, which means nothing ever changes through the permanence. And in order for that to be there, for permanence to be there, you have to see truth. Truth can only exist through permanence. It cannot exist through through the impermanent self, with the impermanent mind. So, this is where we want to be as often as possible. We want to exist within intelligence. We want to exist within permanence, because only through permanence will you ever experience this. In the impermanent world, what is the only thing that you're going to experience? Perspective. It's the only thing you're ever going to experience when you're inside the mind. Perspective is not truth. It is a point of view. It is a vantage point. It is something that you are able to observe and saying, I observed this. This is what I saw. It's my perspective. Perspective and truth are not the same. They're completely different. Okay? A perspective is a vantage point. A perspective is a point of view. And that is what you have experienced. This is why you can't find truth in the mind. Right? Here's the mind. You are never, ever, 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 ever going to find truth in the mind. Never. You are only ever going to find perspective. Because again, it's everybody here, right? We are all our own perceivers, right? I'm the only perceiver in my reality. You are the only perceiver in your reality. The only thing you're ever going to discover through the mind is perspective. You will never discover truth. If you want to discover truth, you have to go into intelligence. You have to go into the permanence of being. Because that's where truth is. Truth is that which is permanent. It never changes. Right? It is infinite. It is unfathomable. It is formless. That's the nature of truth. So we've never experienced truth to the mind, guys, not once. We talk about facts and we talk about evidence. We talk about all these different things. That's great, but that's still just perspective. That's still somebody's perspective. Who is it that says that this is a fact? Who is it that says this is how something is? Well, that still came from a perspective. You could have a very distinguished scientist wearing that shiny white cardigan who's won a Nobel Prize, while they said that this is how it is. Is that truth? Nope. No. Never been truth. It's been perspective. Because we've never experienced truth in the mind. Because everything that represents our awareness within the mind comes through perspective. And it becomes memory. And now that it becomes memory, we have these thoughts, these feelings, these emotions that are assigned to it. And we've addressed it as a marker through time. And as you've addressed it as a marker through time, you give it merit, right? So we create the idea of merit through perspective. This person is so distinguished, and they wrote this big book, and they've written all these other books, and they've worn all these big medals, and they've been congratulated so much. Oh, this must be the way it is. This must be the way it is. They're a saint. But you've still never experienced truth. You're relying on the worship of one's own perspective to where you think that they're greater than you are. That they have a much more deeper perspective than you, and that they deserve far more merit than you regarding their perspective. Do you see how we've been living a lie, guys? Do you see how all of this is one big fat lie regarding the nature of truth? Right? Another amusing thing is the idea of truthers. No such thing. No such thing. That's a joke. You have perceivers, right? You have one in their own perception. You are looking at everything through the nature of perception, right? So a person leaves a perspective, right? This is how things are in my world. A visitor comes together. They knock on that person's door. They go into that person's basement, they find all these boxes, and they see all this form of evidence that completely contradicts what that person believes to be truth. Right? So their perspective overtakes another perspective. Oh, this guy's not who he says he is. He's been holding up a lot of things. He's been hiding a lot of things. He's been doing some really devious activity. He's not the renowned scientist, the renowned merit man. Right? So again, this is the idea, is that perspective overshadows other perspective, right? All we're doing is we're looking at perspective over other perspective, over other perspective, over other perspective, over other perspective, and it becomes endless, right? So this is why we get so confused. Well, here's a perspective here. This is what this person's here, but then this person said that. Yeah, but then this person said this. Well, then this person said that. And then this person said this. Well, that person said that. Well, how about this person? He said this. Well, how about that person? That. No, that person says this. No, that person says this. Well, I say this. No, I say this. No, you take care of that. No, I'm going to do this. No, you say this. Is that clarity, guys? Is that clarity? That's not even close to clarity. That's confusion. And guess what summons all of this together? Ego. Ignorance. That's why you cannot find any truth in the outside world. It's not possible. You will only find perspective. Perspective is not the truth. The only truth that exists is when you move into the permanence of intelligence. So that is what we are learning here today. We are learning how to go into truth. We are learning how to go into intelligence, because that intelligence is what's permanent, right? So when we look at the nature of the mind, and when we look at intelligence, thought can never touch intelligence. Intelligence exists where there is no thought, where there is no mind. There is no thought. There is no feeling. There is no mind. These are gone. And all we have is stillness. What we have is beingness. Right? We are entering non-doing. Okay? This is the true intelligence, because this is where you're seeing the whole picture. Whereas when you're in the mind, You're seeing this. From my perspective, 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 from my perspective. You're getting chunks, you're getting crumbs, you're getting itty-bitty little debris of the big picture. But it's all put through a paper shredder, right? Everything's just chewed up and spat out. There's crumbs everywhere, there's debris everywhere. You can't make sense of it, it's impossible. Everybody has their perspective on what they feel life is. And again, it's fine because it's their perspective, but it's not the truth. All of this is perspective fodder. Okay, that's all this is. That's what happens when you put so much reliance on the outside world. You get this debris. You're just knee-deep, you're neck-deep, I would say, in fodder. Perspective fodder. This is why so many people come to me from sessions. Brad, how do I know what is the truth? What is with all these people telling me all these different perspectives about how reality is and what's happening in the times ahead and this and that and this and that and what's happening, blah, 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 blah. Where's the truth? Where is it? And I say, you're not going to find it through the mind. What? What are you talking about? How can I not find truth through the mind? Everybody's talking about something. There's got to be one ultimate truth. Yeah, but it's not in the mind. It's not in the mind? No. Because the mind is everything that represents the personification of the left brain. Okay? Yes, we have higher states of the mind and so forth, but again, it still represents the idea of form. It still represents the idea of object. It still represents the idea of image. And that's not the truth. If you have to create a form for something, you're never going to know it for its truth. You're only looking at design. You're looking at intelligent design, right? Intelligence speaks to the left brain. And the left brain is trying to make sense of all this stuff. And so it will create forms. It will create cubes. It will create spheres, right? It will create triangles. It will create all these different forms of shapes. It will create these geometries. It'll create these different husks. It will create these vessels. It will create these thought forms to getting some type of language together, to get some type of perception about what intelligence is trying to tell the mind. Because the mind is clueless. It doesn't know what the truth is. It's just a tool. That's it. It's a construct. As I said, thoughts can't touch intelligence. Feelings can't touch intelligence. Emotions can't touch intelligence. Right? There is no mind involved with intelligence whatsoever. So, the people that want to go to God will never, ever be able to do it through the mind. If you want to go into the highest state possible, if you want to go back to source intelligence, can't do it through the mind. Not possible. Because no thought will bring you there. So just like I shared with you guys at the beginning of this webcast, that you're learning to still your thoughts. You're keeping your thoughts still. The only thing that you can bring into intelligence that represents a type of perception, but is actually the truth, is this. That's it. That's the only thing you can bring with you that can go to God. Ramana Maharshi shared the same thing. The I am is all that you can bring to God. Because this is God. Okay? This is God. Om is God. That's what you can bring to God with you. So this is where a lot of people bring their minds, they bring their consciousness, they bring their awareness to the I am. They bring their awareness to Om, because that's God. That's God. I am that I am. That's God. So you are not using the idea of a thought. You're not trying to outthink yourself to believe that you're going to go to God, that you're going to go to source intelligence, that you're going to go to the self. All of that's got to be stripped away. Because thoughts, feeling, the mind does not exist within intelligence. Reality itself When we look at reality, reality itself is intelligence. It is not mind. Okay? So here's the mind, and here's intelligence, just simply as this invisible force that we can never explain rationally. It's the creative forces. It's the forces of intelligence that is this gravitation, as it were, that is keeping the mind together. That's the nature of intelligence. But really, we can take this and we can put it inside. All of this here is that central dot that exists deeply within the mind, that it actually as like a hole. So think of it as a wheel. Okay? So we have a hole in the middle and we have the spokes. Okay? That hole, that emptiness, is the intelligence. That hole, that emptiness is the intelligent force. That hole, that emptiness is God. That hole, that emptiness is the self. That's how it works. So here are the spokes. The spokes are perspectives through the mind. It's experiences through the mind. Okay? It's not the truth. What is it that holds the wheel together? It's the center hole. Right? It's the same thing as if you were to look at a vase, for example. Right? Not a very good drawing. But nonetheless, you have the emptiness inside the vase. There's the intelligence inside the emptiness of the vase. And the vase itself made out of clay. Okay? So you have a clay vase, or you have a clay pot, and you have the emptiness within it. And we can look at this and say that if we're looking at the nature of the clay is the substance. Okay? But the pot can never be one with the substance because the pot is a form. The clay is the substance. For us to understand the substance, we have to know ourselves to be the clay. Right? So that's the same thing. It's to know that we are the emptiness inside the wheel. We're the center hole. So that that wheel can turn. We can't put it anywhere else. If we put it anywhere else, the wheel is going to break. And it will not be a wheel. So this is the idea, everybody. Is to get out of the reliance of the mind. If you are going into the mind, the only thing you're ever going to find is perspective. And if that's something you enjoy, that's up to you. But you're never going to find truth through perspectives of mind. It's not possible. So, what the masters will teach you is to get out of the mind and come into intelligence and come into stillness, to come into samadhi. Now, samadhi, in one of the simplest ways that can be put, would represent absorption. Absorption of pure consciousness. And that's what you're doing. You're going into samadhi. But in order for you to go to samadhi, this is where Kundalini is necessary. Okay? You have to have a Kundalini awakening for you to go into the full state of samadhi. Simply how it is. I had my Kundalini awakening back in 2018. Some people have asked me about that. Well, Brad, what can I do with Kundalini? Right? You've had a Kundalini experience. Are you going to be teaching Kundalini to people at some point? I said, right now I haven't felt the urge to do that. But when I'm able to travel again, and maybe I can hold some events and so forth, I may teach about Kundalini awakening, right? Because it is a very important part. It's something everybody should experience, but there's a lot of fear around it. And again, maybe that's the reason why I should be getting involved in it pretty soon, to eliminate the fear of it. Because my Kundalini experience was not fearful, not intimidating in any particular way, right? And I can teach people how to do this. So maybe in time, I'll work with that, but I really would not want to work with Kundalini teachings online, right? It'd have to be something in person. It's very, very important that we do it in person rather than online. So we'll see. We'll see what the time brings ahead. But again, to move into samadhi, you have to go through the Kundalini awakening. You have to move through intelligence, because that's what Kundalini is. When you raise your Kundalini, you're raising your intelligence. It is its own intelligence. It is spirit. Okay? That's the nature of the Kundalini. So, samadhi is all about absorption of the intelligence within yourself. Right? It is that great expansion. It's that awareness of being aware. But it's the idea that you are absorbing. You're going through absorption of intelligence within the self. That's the idea. You're accumulating it. So we go into different versions of samadhi. We go into Savikalpa Samadhi, we go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, we go into Sahaja Samadhi, and there's several different types. Right? The first three I mentioned are the common ones that I go into, right? And I'm starting to go into them daily right now because of a lot of work with intelligence. So again, guys, this is what I'm sharing with you, is to bit by bit, day by day, let go of the necessity of the mind. Let go of trying to think that you're going to figure everything out by being a left brain analytical examiner. You're not going to be able to do it. If you want to know what the big picture is, you have to learn to migrate into intelligence. You have to go into the right brain, because that's what's going to show you everything. It's not the left brain. Left brain just knows how to pick things apart. Okay? The left brain is the zeros and the ones. Okay? Just coming one at a time. 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, right? All just in sequence. That's what the left brain is really, really good at doing. It puts everything in partition. It puts everything in a state of sequence. It's linear, right? When we go into the right brain, we're looking at everything at once. We're looking at the big picture all at once. It is everything here and now. And that's the truth. The only truth you're ever going to experience is when you're moving into intelligence, because you're looking at permanence. You're experiencing permanence. You are permanence. Okay? Impermanence can't do that. So this is where we're learning to let go of the mind, and we're going into that stillness. We're doing the peripheral pillars, right? We're taking in all the senses, and our mind is getting stilled. And now as it gets stilled, we're moving into intelligence. We're moving into the non-linear. We're moving into the right brain. Okay? So now we are communing with spirit. We're communing with God. This is what I do to bring about all this information to you guys. Is I get myself still, the information starts to flow. The right brain is translating to the left brain is bringing out all this information through voice. Right? And you have that clear connection. Everybody can do this. But it's the idea of really looking into what is here between the nature of the mind and intelligence itself. All right? So let me switch the camera here. So that is what I wanted to share with you guys today about that. So what we'll do now is we'll just look to see if you guys have any questions. Okay, so if there's any questions on the chat. But like I said, keep working together with the BCR technique. Keep working with the simple practices like what you are learning here at the beginning of the broadcast, right? So you're working with deep cleansing breath, getting yourself awake, aware, and alert. Okay, the waves are a little bit wonky here. Okay, they're bobbing up and down. And we go into heart rate variability, and we calm the waves. Now we go into the peripheral pillars. Now we go into taking in all the senses, and we just still ourselves, and we stay there. We stay there as long as we can. And as long as we stay there as long as we can, you're going to feel yourself moving into a higher intelligence. You're going to be moving into just intelligence, period. Right? So we have to give up this reliance of the mind, because the mind is not the truth. You will only ever see perspective through the mind. Okay? Okay. Okay, yeah, so George is asking, how do I awaken the Kundalini? Okay, so that again is something that you don't personally awaken the Kundalini, George, okay? So what you're doing is you have to understand yourself as to be a vessel, okay? You cannot just consciously choose to have a Kundalini experience. It doesn't work that way. Spirit chooses for you when that time comes. So you'll feel it coming when you have an urge to really commit yourself to looking into Kundalini practice, right? That's one of the first things. You'll just get this impulse. You'll get this impulse, you'll get this feeling to be involved with Kundalini. That's exactly what happened to me. I studied it every now and then, right, in the past. And then when 2018 came along, I was just feeling a lot more compelled to try it, right? And like I said, I documented about this in the past in videos on my Facebook as well, too, that I actually had the being known as Ramtha, right? The being that Jay-Z Night channels quite often, right? I had him appear And he was telling me how to work through the Kundalini practice. Because, okay, yeah, I could do Kundalini, but what's a good practice that I should do? And so he came in and he gave me his perspective about something that could be quite helpful. And that was the idea of seeing chakra centers as doors, right? So if you guys go onto my YouTube channel and you just type in Kundalini, right, you'll see my video that I've talked about in the past where I was describing my Kundalini Awakening, right? I even give you guys a little exercise in the video as well too, based on what Ramtha was teaching me through his perspective about opening up the chakra doors, okay? So in a nutshell, you're opening up the chakra doors and you're cleaning out all the debris that you see inside the doors, okay? So that's what I learned at the time. I would probably teach something a little bit different today, but at the time that worked very, very well for me. So I just saw all the colored doors that represented the orientation of the chakra centers, and I just opened them up. I did a simple meditation on YouTube that was just kind of chanting, right? So basically the chanting was Kundalini Awakening. Okay? A lot of that chanting was coming together, and I was chanting it along together with it, and that's when the Kundalini started to rise. Okay? I wasn't controlling it. All I'm doing is I'm making a path clean for the Kundalini to rise up to. Okay? That's your job. Your job is to make a clear path. Okay? So you're making a clear path so that the Kundalini can rise itself up. And I was feeling sensations of hot and cold just moving up the spine. Now I had to do the Kundalini twice. Okay? And I did it at 3 a.m. both nights. So there's a reason why I chose the 3 a.m. hour to basically do a Kundalini Awakening, because 3 a.m. is the peak hour for DMT. Okay? That majorly helped with my Kundalini Awakening, both times. So the first time I did it, I felt that the Kundalini stopped right at the solar plexus, right here. Not at the solar plexus chakra, but just right at the solar plexus itself. And that's when I had to look into it. I tapped into it. I said, okay, I still have some old relationship issues. There's still some old things with relationships that I have not forgiven altogether. And I had to stop what I was doing. The Kundalini was just sitting there. Okay? It wasn't hurting me in any particular way. And I went in and I cleaned out the solar plexus area. Not the solar plexus chakra, but the solar plexus area. Okay? Because there was just some certain things that I was holding on to there that I didn't realize from before. So I cleaned all that out. The next night came at 3 a.m. I continued the Kundalini uprising, and then it moved. Moved up to the heart, moved up to the throat, right past the medulla, going up, and it just parked itself right at the top of the brow chakra here, like a snake's head that was just putting itself down like this, right? Kind of like how they described with Buddha, right? That he basically saw the serpent above his head that was shielding him from the rain. Okay, that's very symbolic. The rain representing the chaos, the suffering of the world, and the snake being that protector, that protection of it, so that he would not be touched by the rain of the world, right? So that's the idea here, is that I had that Kundalini Awakening. It was profound. It's a beautiful moment, right? I didn't push anything. I wasn't being forceful. And that is so very important in a Kundalini Awakening. You do not force anything. If you force anything, you're going to do damage to yourself, big time. Okay? You be very, very gentle. So what you're doing is you're working with the chakra centers. You're working your way up. Okay? You're cleaning them all out. Okay? Like I said, in yogic traditions, they have 6 chakras. Okay? All along the spine, right up to the medulla. Okay? That's their 6 chakras. In the Edgar Cayce version, they have 7 chakras. I'm going to be describing this when I do the online course as well, too. I'll be talking a little bit about Kundalini, but I will not be teaching Kundalini to you guys online. That's not the good thing to do. Okay? It needs to be done in person. You need to find a teacher. It's very important. I was fortunate to have a teacher in spirit to help me through my process. It wasn't Adronis. It was Ramtha. Right? So he was teaching me everything, just about what I needed to do altogether. He says, just trust it. It's going to flow through naturally. Just create a path. Okay? So that is all you're doing as the receptacle. So you see yourself as the receptacle, the vessel for the Kundalini. Right? You're getting yourself comfortable. Again, I did mine at the 3 a.m. hour, both days. Again, it went out to that full Kundalini experience. And it was great. It was amazing. It was just an incredible surge. Like I said, I was feeling a rush of hot and cold, right? It's kind of like a tingling sensation. You have a hot tingling sensation, you have a cold tingling sensation, and they're mixing together. It wasn't too much like I was seeing a spiral. I was just seeing more like a thermometer. It felt like more like a thermometer of both hot and cold, moving up my spine, coming up to the top, and parking right at the Anya chakra. Okay? That was my experience. So again, I did not force anything. And if you force something, you're in big trouble. Okay? There are even some Kundalini teachers that just push it, just push it. No, dear God, no, don't you push it. Right? Don't you ever push Kundalini. Don't you ever try to push intent like that. You will burn yourself out. You will basically drain your energy, because that's what happens. People push it, and then they push it all the way up to the brain, and when you're doing that, you're basically letting all of the vital energy of the brain leak out, because you're constantly trying to push the Kundalini up to the brain. You never do that, okay? You will burn yourself out, and you can actually be immobilized for months. Because what people do is they put too much strain and too much pressure and too much force basically upon the brain. They're trying to force that all the way up, right? And so that's the gravity, right? The gravity well has to go all the way up here. So I'm pushing all that vital energy out of the brain, and I'm suffering as a result. So that, again, is something I would teach a person never, ever to do. You don't ever do that, right? But teachers teach that. Just keep pushing it. Just keep straining. Keep going as hard as you can and push. I don't mean to sound gross or anything like that, but that's like you taking a number 2 in the bathroom and all you're doing is pushing and straining. Okay? Are you going to be pushing and straining a number 2 in the bathroom? It's not going to feel too good. Okay? You're going to do some damage there. It's not what we do. We let it naturally flow. Okay? So all you're doing is you're creating a path. You're creating a path. You're clearing out all the debris of the chakra centers as you're moving up. And now there's a nice hollow tube, as it were, that goes right up into the Anya chakra, or the medulla. Okay? And it just comes over you. Okay? At the time, I was seeing 7 chakra centers. I was seeing 7 doors. Okay? So the pituitary would be the 7th door, opening that up. And again, that's where the serpent, the Kundalini serpent, come and rests upon your head. Okay? And it was a beautiful experience. I was so excited about it. It was wonderful. And from that time forward, that's when I started moving into these very, very deep practices. That's when I started moving into these really great concepts, far better than what I was getting before. Right? That's how I was actually starting to move towards developing the new EQ method, developing the BCR technique, starting to get out of that phase of moving out of channeling, right, and coming into communicating with spirit, moving into self-inquiry, moving into self-abidance, moving into absorption, going into samadhi. Okay? So Kundalini continues to work with you for years after you have it. It doesn't stop, right? The intelligence just keeps drawing itself to you. It's a magnet. So you're leaving more of the mind behind, and you're coming more into pure intelligence. It's a really beautiful thing. All right? So yes, thank you very much for your question, George. Like I said, I cannot teach Kundalini online. That's just irresponsible of me for me to do that. But I can tell you again my experiences and what I did. What I would suggest is you guys just seek out a teacher. Seek out a teacher who has already had their Kundalini awakened. Right? If you're meeting a teacher who's never risen their Kundalini, no, that's just a dead end. Okay, you got to meet a teacher who has risen their Kundalini, and you want them to tell you of their Kundalini experience. Okay. Oh yeah, I've never risen my Kundalini, but I came close. Yeah, you're not a teacher. It's like looking at an Olympic swimmer who's never been an Olympic swimmer. Yeah, I think I've swam in pools before. I started off with my kiddie pool. I started with my bathtub. Did you ever go Olympics? Oh, I wanted to go to the Olympics, but I just couldn't go past my bathtub. Okay? So you want to make sure that they know what they're talking about. You want to make sure that they have their own experience. They've worked with Kundalini, right, themselves. That's very, very important. So again, have a teacher. It's very important. Okay? We Are One asks, do you have to stop thinking altogether? No, you're not stopping to think. You're not going to be completely thoughtless for the rest of your life. Let me give you guys an example about what I do, okay? So just like what I'm doing right now, I'm doing my work. Okay, I'm talking to you guys. I'll do sessions, I'll do my work, right? I'm working with the Healing Code Cards deck. I'll do my array of work. Sometimes I'll just tune into a few videos, I'll watch a few videos and so forth, and then I'll just feel the impulse to go on my couch or to sit down on my floor, and I'll go into samadhi, okay? So I go into those 3 different types of samadhi, okay? Something I can explain at a later time. I don't really have too much time right now because we're going to wrap this up pretty quick. So basically I go into those 3 different states of samadhi, right? And what that does is that just brings me into the stillness, right? I have the natural capability to just go into stillness. I don't even have to do heart rate variability, okay? But for the beginners, I would suggest you keep working with heart rate variability. I don't have to do that because I've gone a lot into self-inquiry. I've gone a lot into self-realization. I'm able to invoke the beingness state to where everything is quiet, okay? And that takes practice. You have to practice that. You have to develop that. And that also comes from my background as a channeler, right? Channeling for 13 years, that's what you have to do. I got myself still. I got myself quiet so Adronis could come in and speak through me, okay? So I've learned that for 13 years. So that's basically how long it takes, off and on. But I go into that natural state just to invoke beingness. And that's all I'm doing. Let me demonstrate it for you guys right now, okay? I'm going to demonstrate with you guys right now Savikalpa Samadhi. One moment. Okay, so just during those few seconds, completely thoughtless, right? There may be a wave of thought that may come through you, but you're not perturbed by it. So really, Savikalpa Samadhi is a type of imperturbability of absorption, okay? So you're in a state of absorption, and you're just in a very, very content state. You feel the divine all around you. And you may have little thought waves coming through. You may even have thoughts pass through you, but you're not attaching to it whatsoever. You're completely in that state of absorption, right? So you're absorbing intelligence. You're absorbing God. You're absorbing source. You're absorbing the self, okay? And that's all you're doing. You just put your intention. I wouldn't say put your intention, just putting your awareness. You're just putting your awareness to God. And you may feel thought waves coming in, but it doesn't touch you. It's like passing through you like a phantom. Okay? And that's Savikalpa Samadhi. When I'm going into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, okay? No thoughts at all. You don't have any thoughts within your brain whatsoever. No thoughts are coming into you. You're just completely still. And the nature of Nirvikalpa Samadhi is just keeping your body as still as possible. You really want to do that with both samadhis, with Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa Samadhi, right? Just keeping yourself as still as possible. But Savikalpa is kind of like a lower step, and Nirvikalpa Samadhi is a higher step, right? You're moving into the higher step. You're going into that stillness. You're going into absorption with no thought within your mind whatsoever. Then we have the third one. We have Sahaja Samadhi. And I'm in Sahaja Samadhi right now, talking to you guys, performing action, sharing information as I'm sharing information, letting this information flow with you without any concern of outcome or conception of idea that I feel I have to analyze through the nature of perception, but I do not have to do that because I am simply remaining in a state of stillness to where the words and information are becoming themselves and action is being taken. So it's that pure imperturbability of every action that you take through life. You go downstairs, you clean the dishes in your kitchen, right? And you're in Sahaja Samadhi. You're driving your car and you're in Sahaja Samadhi, right? You're doing work and you're in Sahaja Samadhi, okay? It is the life breath that again contains the intelligence to where the vessel is doing work, but who I am is completely immersed in that intelligence. And that's something I'm still working with, because that's a much more deeper one. Ramana Maharshi was in that type of samadhi all the time, right? He was always in Sahaja Samadhi constantly. So again, beautiful things. But like I said, the Kundalini is needed. You have to work together with the Kundalini. You have to have a Kundalini uprising for you to successfully go into Samadhi. You can go into a no-thought state, but for you to actually absorb intelligence, that intelligence needs to be through you. Okay? And that's where Kundalini is. Kundalini is kind of like the magnet that's attracting all of the pure intelligence directly into you. Okay? I didn't make up the rules, guys. This is just simply how it is. Right? You have to have a Kundalini awakening in order for you to go into full Samadhi. That's simply the nature of how it is. Just how it is, right? We have to bring that intelligence into ourselves. It's functioning as that natural attractor, bringing in pure intelligence to ourselves. And as we completely slow and completely cease the thoughts, that pure intelligence flows through us and we feel it. It feels like it's just coming through. It's coming through the pores of your actual being, not just the physical body. It's a beautiful thing. You can't really explain it. It's just such a peacefulness. But you guys are moving a mile ahead by you going into a no-thought state, because you can go into self-abidance, right? And that's a very high state as well, too. You go into self-inquiry, and through the result of self-inquiry, you go into self-abidance. And through that nature of self-abidance, you are able to move yourself into that state of listening, right? And you're flowing with that. And as you get better with that, it will not be far behind where you'll get the urge to do a Kundalini awakening, okay? It really is a very, very beautiful thing, the Kundalini awakening. It is not scary, right? People in that sense who have said it's scary, no offense, they were not doing it properly, right? Either they had a really bad teacher who was telling them to strain and to force this and all that, teaching them not to clean everything out, just go ahead and wing it. You don't do that. You don't just wing it. You don't just spontaneously go into a Kundalini awakening without preparing yourself. That's so very important. You have to prepare yourself. You have to clear the way. And you let it naturally move up with you, right? You're letting it use its own force to move up the body. You're not straining, okay? You're not taxing yourself. You're not tensing yourself up. Again, very, very important. Okay, so that's basically what I can share, is you do not have to stop thinking altogether, okay? You can still go through your day where you're still doing work and all that stuff, but you want to have some time to go into Samadhi, okay? I'm basically teaching you guys the householder version of working together with Kundalini, of working together with Samadhi, right? Of moving into the intelligence, right? I'm not calling it the intelligent mind because it's not a mind. It's just intelligence. So again, this is information for the common person, okay? So this is why you do the BCR technique 30-day challenge. Then you move on to the New Earth practices. And through the New Earth practices, you start to calm your mind a lot more. You notice that the thought flow becomes less and less. Now you go into self-inquiry. Who am I? Who is it that is observing this? Am I aware of being aware? And I want to know that I want to know that I am. And that comes through the heart. And as we start to realize that, we go into self-abidance. And once you're in that level of self-abidance, I would say you're more than ready to do Kundalini, right? So again, I'll be teaching this more down the road. But again, I like to teach Kundalini in person, not online. Okay, Vince says, is consciousness something that we have to be let go of before we merge with Source? You are consciousness, Vince. Okay, you are never not consciousness. Consciousness is not a outside property. Okay, it's not an object. You are consciousness. Okay? If we do not think that we're consciousness, then we're basically living this whole world blind and deaf and basically dull to our spirit senses. Okay? We got to take off that blindfold. We got to take out the earplugs. We got to take out the muffle. Okay? We got to take off the heavy gloves that prevent us from feeling, the heavy boots that prevent us from feeling. We got to take off that bodysuit preventing us from touching. Okay? All of that's got to be removed. You are consciousness, okay? Human being, a human body is a property. A human body is an object. A human body is an image. This world is a property. This world is an appearance. It's a drape through the appearance of consciousness, okay? You are always consciousness because that's all there is. All there is God. All there is God's self. There is nothing else, right? So when we look at ourselves as being a human being, you're looking backwards. You're walking backwards again. You're living the inverted pentagram. You have to see yourself as consciousness because that's who you are. You are consciousness. You are spirit. You are intelligence. That's who you are. That's your nature, right? I can't explain it to you any better than that. But when you're looking at yourself with a body, it's an instrument. It's an object. It's a vessel. So that's not what we are. We're just playing a game. We're playing a game of incarnation through this body, through this world that we are perceiving. It's all object. It's a kid playing in a sandbox. And then the kid will step out of that sandbox and they will go into intelligence. Because now they're done with the sandbox for now. And now they step out of the sandbox and they come into that true beauty of intelligence. Right? So they go into the Intelligence Abode, which is basically what I'll refer to it as. And that's where God is. That's where your parent is. Okay? And you are your parent. You are God consciousness. That's who you are. So see yourself as consciousness first before anything else. You see yourself as consciousness before the body. You see your consciousness before your mind, before everything that represents the mind. You see yourself as that pure intelligence, that pure consciousness. That's who you really are. Every single one of you. Okay? So get out of that delusion of trying to compare physicality to consciousness because that's not going to work. Consciousness first, through the heart, living inside, and then you will know yourself. Okay? Okay. Amma asked me, do you actually see that snake? Is it a cute one or a scary one? I've never actually saw a snake when I was doing Kundalini. Okay? They just refer to that as a symbology. Okay? Because a lot of people that experience Kundalini feel this twisting of energies. Okay? It's like I said, the hot and the cold. Well, that's the nature of the spiral, right? Even when you look at the medical industry, right? They have Kundalini as part of their symbol, right? When you're looking at Western medicine, they use the Kundalini, right? That pole with the snake going up it. That's Kundalini. But they don't tell you that. This is why I tell you again that these are all just shadow organizations, right? Withholding the truth about what is, because the truth is something that cannot be explained. You have to go into the permanence to know that truth. And now you just realize where there is truth and where there is falsehood. And falsehood exists within the mind, right? Okay, guys, so we're going to wrap up for today. We're out of time. So again, I'll be back tomorrow for New Earth TV Live, okay, starting at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be doing a mass earth meditation tomorrow, and some healing work, and of course some Q&A. So tune in tomorrow for the next New Earth TV Live. Thank you everybody for joining me today, and I'll speak to you again tomorrow. Have a great day wherever you are in the world, and may you be well. Take care.